Morning all, tcDetects back out again. We are on this recently cropped cornfield behind me. I was on it last weekend and managed to rustle up a small hammered with the Rutus Versa, but you're not likely to see that video until after this one comes out. That's right, I'm messing about with the timelines. There's a good reason though, and the good reason for messing about with timelines and putting this video up first is we have the Rutus Versa in the house. Thank you to Viola at Rutus and Luke at tcDetects for getting this to me. I've not used it. I switched it on last night at home, paired the headphones, had a quick look through the settings and things like that, but this is its first outing. I'll be running it using the 23cm DD coil, which is my favoured coil on the Alt 71 and the Atrix when I'm not using a white coil. It's a great coil for coins and small thin things, which given this field keeps providing hammers. That's probably the right choice. Also the stubble needs weaving in and out of, so a small coil probably better as well. I will be running in the factory settings. No point tweaking stuff until you know how the machine runs in its normal settings, which are of course optimized by the engineers anyway. So we'll be running it in field, I think in dual mode to start with. Also worth calling out as well that the Versa works with the Rutus dedicated headphones, so we'll be using those. And if anybody's got the Atrix with the wireless module, or is looking for a different, using the Versa with a different set of headphones, you can also use the Rutus dedicated wireless module that they release for the Atrix with the Versa as well, so they're all compatible. However, just worth pointing out that the coils for the Versa are specific and unique to the coils. Can't use them on the Atrix or vice versa. So at the minute there were two coils: the stock coil, which is the larger one, and then the 23cm coil, which I've got on myself. No doubt there will be some aftermarket coils coming downstream as well at some point. Right, without further ado, I'm going to crack on and have first hunt with the Rutus Versa. Put the full Versa specs on screen now so you can see what you're getting in the Versa. It's different from the Atrix in particular. It's the new machine. Also, I'm going to put up online a QR code. That QR code allows you to download the Rutus Versa manual in a nice little mobile app format, so you can have that on your phone and refer to it easily when you're in the field. Any questions about the Versa, drop me a comment, and watch out for updates from tcDetects, as they will be stocking it and selling it imminently. So first signal with the Versa that I've dug anyway is down here. In the plus, scratchy, mostly positive. Wanted to show you the screen on this one particularly because hopefully it's picking it up. The screen on the Versa is and the ID range is a little bit different to what we've had before. On the Atrix, the ID range was customizable. You could choose how you wanted to do it. On the Versa, there's a 120 point scale, which goes from -30 to +90. Anything in the minus range is, in theory, ferrous, and anything outside is non-ferrous. So just wanted to highlight that. I'm not sure this is the greatest signal I've ever dug. It was better when it was in the hole. Now out a little bit, but we'll see what it is. See what it is, if I can find where it's gone. So this tiny little thing, slither of metal, is what the Versa had picked up. I mean, I know it's nothing but tuck, but it's tiny, very thin. It goes well for other types of phones. And the next signal, just here, very strong, 74, 75, very strong line, very noisy. I think it could be trash and surfacey. See what pin? Yeah, pinpointer thinks it's very surfacey as well. That's probably going to be trash, but we'll find out. And the answer to that very loud surfacey signal was indeed a piece of sort of trash, a piece of 2 inches of aluminium tubing. Have a very quick look at the programs that you have available on the Versa. I'm running in, I keep flipping between field dual and field normal. There you go. As you've got beach dual, field dual, then you've got park and park dual, and then non-motion. Next signal down here, it's a little bit more erratic than some of the others. In the 50s and 60s mostly. The line is acceptable, not brilliant. Let's see what we get this time. That slightly scratchy signal, it's about 8 inches down. A smallish piece of old lead. Some age to it by the look of it. High 60s, good line. And that very decent signal is about 3 inches down. This piece of coppery something or other. It clearly had a purpose at some point. I don't understand why it gave such a good and strong and consistent signal, but I'm not sure there's a lot of age to it. But clearly had a purpose at some point. Also worth pointing out as well, because of the changes from the Atrax, which was mostly, well, primarily it was in the housing of the Alt 71. The Versa is very different, so pointing out the screen styling, but also you have a cam-locked telescopic collapsible stem. The top two pieces are in essence triangular tube. The bottom is a round piece of carbon fibre, which allows you to collapse it and then turn the coil sideways to get it even flatter, put it in backpacks and things like that. So a very nice design feature. Looks like a very robust piece of kit. The handle housing also got a cam lock on it here, or whatever you call those things, so you can adjust it up and down as well. Very nice. On the back, on the armrest as well, I'm not sure if you can see here this section, that looks like a bit like on the Legend where you can slide in a coin pod. Looks like something might be getting slid into here at some point. I think that might be, they were looking at, I think, or believe they were looking at a portable charger, so you could charge the Rutus on the go. So maybe when they release that accessory, if they release that accessory, then that's where it's supposed to go. But I guess anybody with the right skills with 3D printer could again put a little coin pod in there. Maybe that's one for the future. One of the other things that's changed with the Versa is the menu system. So it looks familiar in terms of the graphics used and those sort of things and the options, but there's two ways into the menu system depending on which bit you're looking for now. So looking for the sort of normal settings stuff, you go into the settings and then move through sensitivity, reactivity, volume, etc., etc. All the normal ones sort of that way. Come out, just push the button, you're back out. But if you wanted to get into where you change the mode or the frequencies, then you long press the settings button and you'll get into these screens. And you see here, and I'll point out that the Versa has also changed how the multi works. So you've got multi 1 to 10 like you did on the Atrax, so they aren't exactly 10 massively different ranges. They're more for nudging it along if you're getting interference in one or another. But you can see when you come into the frequency part now, you automatically get the EMI screen as well. So you can see I'm in multi 7, no real EMI. I can go down and go into the single frequency modes, where you can see the range of single frequencies on the Versa is a lot bigger than it was on the Atrix. The Atrix went from, I think, from memory, 3.4 or 3.6 up to 20, whereas the Versa goes from 4 to 40, like I said, with 10 multi settings as well. So it's a lot higher range, which is good for smaller and thinner pieces, and still has the low range for those who are looking for sort of like military artifacts and things that are bigger and buried deeper. So what was I on? 7, so we'll go back to that. Come out again. Now we're going to ask me a ground balance, or rather it's going to ask me coil balance, because I've changed frequencies, I've been messing about. Also the long press gets you into that screen, which allows you to change your settings. So as you can see, I'm currently in field normal. Back out again. Like I said, slightly different way of navigating the settings, and I'll do some at home, sit down, not in the middle of the field, videos on the settings, and walk through on all of them. And next signal is down here. High 50s, early 60s, decent line. Tour signal didn't turn out to be anything particularly decent. It was what was picking up was this tag. Found lots of these on the field, this particular field, over the years. I think it's not sure if it's a tag off like a grain tag or something like that, or potentially an animal, but I think more likely off a grain sack or something like that. Anyway, seed sack or something like that. But right over the top of it was this big chunk of iron. So when I moved it out, the iron ended up over here and the other one was in the hole. So I think they've been laying like that at some point. But the Versa still very effectively, despite the presence of a reasonable chunky piece of iron, still picked up the aluminium, aluminium tag as well. So yeah, a little accidental demo of reverse and separation. So next signal down here in this hole, 64, 65, very solid, very good line, not too far down, and I can detect a telltale sign of roundy greeny stuff. So lots of livery buttons come up in this particular field. I think there's been some military exercises back in the day, probably First World War, but also lots of pre-decimals. This is looking sort of pre-decimal halfpenny-ish. Indeed it is. We have a George the Fifth by the look of it. Yep. And George the Fifth. Pre-decimal. First coin for the Versa. Usable nickname as well. Nice. I'm also still just on the side of the route of the current footpath, so that could well be related to that footpath. Next up, and breaking another duck for the Versa, but not necessarily the duck we want to break. In the 24-25 range, and we have our first button. In fact, we have our first 4-holer. And next up is the first sort of artifact of the day, at least identifiable. I say identifiable, I have no idea what it is, but you can see we've got this kind of greeny, so maybe copper, or at least partly. Is that a flower? Is it meant to be a sort of like bird's foot or something? Clearly was attached to something by this loop here. I'm going to go with decorative, but I don't know what. Some age to it, I would say. Maybe Victorian, something like that. Anybody got any ideas what this might be? Please put it in the comments. And next up is the second button. Holder, not 4-holer, but nothing on it that I can see in terms of pattern or anything. Okay, so 2.5 hours in with the Versa. Overall, first impressions, and note this is first impressions. it's a very stable machine. The signals are what they say they're going to be. I think it's better in the factory settings at giving you the relevant information to spot iron, both large and irregular, as well as little ones. Discrimination and separation, very, very good on it. There is, however, one major drawback, and this is only for those who are 71 users and Atrix users, or I guess any machine that's ever had it. That major drawback, I really miss the little pinpointy trigger. Little pinpointy trigger is normally supposed to be here on the Rutus machines, whereas this one has a pinpointy button here. Now I know that the reason for that is because this unit is waterproof and the Atrix and the Alta 71 weren't waterproof. So to get it to be waterproof, they've had to put the button, in essence, within the casing rather than as a nice little trigger underneath. But my God, do I miss that trigger. I keep using it, or keep trying to use it. I keep sort of going, where's my pinpointer? I guess it's like when I got my electric car and then discovered that there's no clutch in it, and it's only an accelerator and a brake pedal. So I'll get used to a button instead of a trigger for the pinpointer. But yeah, I do miss the trigger. Pinpointer works perfectly well, in fact very well, so there's nothing wrong with the functionality of the pinpointer, just I miss the trigger. One of the other things that's changed with the Versa is the weight of the machine. So the new weight of the Versa is, I think, 1.3 kilograms. I think depending on the coil, the Atrix was 1.65, 1.7. So you're talking, what, 20 to 30% reduction in weight. So I think the Versa, from memory, is essentially the same weight as the Manticore. So it's a pretty decent drop from a weight perspective. Also, straight shaft, which I prefer. I had one on my Alta when that opportunity came up, and the Atrix on and off. I just find the balance works, and again on the Versa, balance is pretty spot on, to be honest. Obviously, it's what, 4 hours of use, so it's not enough to give a full comparison or a full view of these things. But so far, no issues with the balance, no pull on the shoulder, elbow, arm in any unusual places or anything like that. So a combination of great balance and reduced weight puts it ahead of some of the competitors. And next signal is down here. Late 20s reasonable line. See what that is. And we have what looks like half of a pewter button. And next up, still sort of near the footpath, another old coin, another looks like pre-decimal, completely battered and squished halfpenny, and it's like utterly battered. And from about 6 inches down, flicks it out over here. You can just see the edge of it there. Looks like a small button or a coin. Not saying it's the same shape as the one I got last week, but it is. So are we on the hammered? No, but we are on the silver. We have, oh, that seems lovely. Look at that coming out on the silver there. We have a threepence, 1917 threepence. That makes it George the V. Oh, that's in lovely condition. Having a very good day with the Versa. We have first coin, first button, first silver. Smashing it, really. It was about 6-7 inches down. clips out from. Very nice. And next signal down here in the 70s. 71, 72, very straight line. So that very good signal just confirms my suspicion that the Versa is just another piece of Rutus genius. Look at this buckle that came up. About, what was it, about 4 inches down, but look at how nice that buckle is. Completely intact, great shape, beautiful condition. So red buttons, buckles, normal coins, silver coins. Not bad for first hunt with a brand new machine in just normal factory settings. Currently in standard field mode in multi-frequency 7 still.